Disclaimer. This content may dramatize real events and include speculation. Viewer discretion is advised as details may not be fully verified. This is the first time Jennifer Lawrence has been publicly named as a sealed witness in federal court. Her identity was kept hidden until now. Not only because she's famous, but because of what she witnessed, what she narrowly avoided becoming involved in, and what she refused to keep quiet about. Even when staying quiet would have been safer. Her testimony starts with a handwritten note, not a legal document, not a contract. It was ripped, dated 2012, and said, "To whoever is behind this, this is your final warning. You can't buy me. I won't vanish. I won't be the next Cassie." She was 22 years old when she wrote that. Cassie hadn't even filed her lawsuit yet. The judge spoke. "Miss Lawrence, you may speak in your own words." Jennifer began by saying she was invited to a private gala in Beverly Hills. She was young, and they made it sound like she was specially chosen. But she wasn't lucky. She was used as bait. She explained she was picked up in a black SUV without license plates. Her phone was taken when she arrived at the gate. They gave her a form to sign, but never explained what it was for. She figured it was for photos or a panel discussion, but it wasn't. There were no cameras. Only red lights, dark hallways, men in suits, and women wearing masks. The courtroom went still. The prosecutor asked her to explain more. Were any of the women familiar? Jennifer nodded. One of them was an actress. She wouldn't name her, but said the woman was famous and scared. They told Jennifer it was just a game and she didn't have to take part. But once the door closed, it was clear. Nobody left early. You smiled, you played along, and you prayed you didn't end up behind the wrong door. She talked about a door marked with a number instead of a name. A girl walked out crying. Another one didn't come out at all. She kept asking herself, is this the source of all the stories? The prosecution presented Exhibit 17A, a sealed report from Jennifer's team showing she came back from that night in a shocked, dissociative state with trauma symptoms. She was placed on a short break from the media in 2012. Publicly, they said it was just exhaustion from her rise after the Hunger Games. She said, "I didn't sleep for 3 days. I kept seeing that hallway, smelling that scent, hearing that sound. I still hear it sometimes." Then came the moment that brought the courtroom to a halt. She was asked if she saw any criminal acts. She said not in the legal sense, but in a moral one, yes. She recalled one girl who looked even younger than her. Jennifer asked someone who the girl was. The man replied, "She's here for training," like she was an object, like she didn't matter. Jennifer was then allowed to read a letter she had written the same week. "I don't want the car. I don't want the contract. I don't want to be a puppet in good lighting. I just want to make it out of this industry alive." The judge asked if she wanted to stop. She shook her head. "No, because it doesn't matter who I am. Being famous doesn't keep you safe. In rooms like that, nobody's famous. You're either useful or replaceable." The jury didn't say a word. The court clerk entered a final note. This testimony was submitted under seal. Jennifer has turned down all media interviews. This statement is her only. What happened next took place 5 years after the Beverly Hills Gala. 5 years of silence. 5 years pretending like everything was normal. Miss Lawrence, did anyone connected to Mr. Combs reach out to you again after that night? Jennifer nodded slowly. Yes, in 2017. Different people, same vibe. She explained that after the Hunger Games exploded and she won an Oscar for Silver Linings Playbook, the invites started coming in again, through strange channels. There were branded campaigns, panel talks, and networking retreats. One in particular stood out. A woman named Ariel D, who called herself a creative liaison, contacted her using encrypted email, sent through Jennifer's old publicist. The invite said, "We're hosting a retreat for visionary female talent, organized by Sean Lovecombs. Off-grid, no media, just peace." Jennifer declined, but Ariel didn't stop. A week later, Jennifer's phone rang. It was a blocked number. She answered. "I still don't know why I picked up. Maybe I was curious. Maybe I wanted closure." The woman introduced herself as Ariel. Jennifer confirmed this under oath. Ariel said, "It's not like before. That house is gone. The tunnels are sealed. This is about rebirth." The room gasped. "Order," said the judge. The prosecutor asked, "What tunnels? Had you ever talked about them publicly?" Jennifer said no. Nobody knew she had seen the hallway. Nobody knew there was a second room, the padded one. She had never told a soul, not even her own family. So how did Ariel know? She described Ariel's voice as calm, too calm, like someone reciting lines she didn't write herself. She told me, "You don't have to do anything uncomfortable. Just show up, walk through, that's all he needs." Jennifer hung up the phone. She reported the call to her legal team. They told her not to take it further. But the next day, on the set of Mother, she found something inside her trailer. An envelope with no return address. Inside was a copy of her unsigned NDA from 2012. Her name was printed at the top. Across the front, someone had scribbled the word "Reminder" in red ink. "That broke me," she said. "That was them telling me, we're still watching. We still own your story." She didn't tell anyone, but she wrote in her private journal, Exhibit 17E, "If I vanish, send this letter. It wasn't an accident. It started in the Red Room. It ends now." The courtroom was still. Even the defense didn't respond. Then the prosecutor leaned closer. "Miss Lawrence, did you ever think about going public?" "Yes," she replied. "In 2021, right after Cassie disappeared from the news. She said she'd heard whispers about a settlement, about hidden videos, about a secret vault. I began putting the pieces together, not just about what happened to me, but what nearly happened to others. Cassie, Aubrey, even someone from my own team." The judge called for a short break, but nobody moved, because what Jennifer described wasn't just fear. It was a system, a machine built to keep people quiet. And Jennifer was never supposed to say a word again. When the break ended, the courtroom lights felt colder. Jennifer returned to the stand. She looked calm on the outside, but her voice had a slight shake now. The prosecutor continued, "Miss Lawrence, you mentioned a vault. Can you explain what you meant by that?" She nodded. "In 2021, I was working on a film. My makeup artist, a woman I trust, received a strange email. It looked like spam, but it wasn't. It had no subject line, no sender name, just one sentence in the body. You're in Vault 9, she's in Vault 4. Jennifer paused, looking straight at the jury. That sentence meant nothing to her, but to me, it was a message. She said she had heard those words before, back in 2012, during that night at the house. A man had whispered something as he passed by. He said, "She's Vault 4, you'll be 9. She didn't understand it back then. Now she did. It meant everything was recorded, filed, catalogued. The prosecutor asked, "Recorded how?" Jennifer looked hesitant, then answered, "Cameras, hidden ones, in the mirrors, in the vents, maybe even in the walls. Girls were being watched. Some of them didn't know. Some of them were told it was for branding. That they'd look back on the footage and be proud. But that wasn't the truth. The room was silent. No scribbling pens, no coughing, just silence." Jennifer continued, "There was one woman, older than me. She told me, 'Smile. The first reel always goes to him. If he likes it, you get work.' Did you know who he was?" Jennifer nodded. Yes, everyone did. They never said his name, but they didn't have to. He was the reason the lights came on. The prosecution showed Exhibit 17H. It was a screenshot from a leaked folder found during a separate investigation. The file was labeled Vault 9 Lawrence Raw Mauve. The jury leaned forward. Jennifer confirmed it was her. She hadn't known it was recorded. She never gave permission. I felt sick. It was from that hallway. You could see me smiling, walking slow, following someone's lead. But I wasn't acting. I was trying to figure out how to get out of there without causing a scene. And now it was a file with my name on it. The prosecutor asked, "Did you keep a copy?" Jennifer shook her head. "I couldn't. Just seeing the screenshot made me feel like I was back there." Then came the twist. The prosecution asked her about a second message, one she hadn't shared before. Jennifer looked uncomfortable, then reached into a folder beside her. She pulled out a black and white printed photo. This was mailed to my family's house in Kentucky. No note, just the photo. It showed me standing at that gala, laughing, talking to someone I don't even remember. But the message wasn't in the image, it was on the back. She turned it over. The court clerk read aloud, "You smiled once, you'll smile again. Keep your lame pretty." Jennifer stared at the floor. That was when I knew it would never stop. Not unless someone made it stop. The judge gave her a moment, then allowed the prosecution to continue. "Miss Lawrence, have you spoken to any of the other women who were at that house?" She nodded. One, briefly. She reached out in 2018 after #MeToo started. She didn't want to say much, just that she remembered me, and that we both made it out. Jennifer said she wanted to do something then, but was told not to. That going public could end her career, that no one would believe her, and worse, that her own tapes could be leaked. They told me to stay in character, smile, be grateful, pretend the worst thing that ever happened to me was a bad script or a rough review. She looked at the jury again. "I've been carrying this for 13 years, watching others go through it, wishing someone had spoken up sooner. So today, I'm doing it." The courtroom was frozen. The judge leaned back. The defense asked for a recess. Denied. Jennifer had one last statement. "I'm not here because I want revenge. I'm here because I'm still scared. Because there are girls walking into those same doors right now, thinking it's an audition, thinking it's a chance. It's not. It's a trap. And someone has to say it. The judge ended the session for the day. Jennifer was escorted out, not by security, but by federal agents. A sealed car waited outside. No photos, no press. Inside the courtroom, the prosecution submitted all her evidence under seal. The defense didn't challenge any of it. They couldn't! Because Jennifer didn't just share a story, she exposed a system. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. The next morning, the press went wild. Even though cameras weren't allowed inside the courtroom, word got out fast. Jennifer Lawrence Testifies was everywhere. But the headlines missed the real story. This wasn't just about her. It was about the others, the ones who hadn't spoken yet, the ones who couldn't. Online, the reaction split into two camps. Some called her brave. Others said she was lying. Why now? They asked. Why not back then? But those people didn't understand how this world worked. Not really. Back inside the courtroom, the prosecution was now building a web. They brought in witness after witness. Not all were famous. Some were assistants, housekeepers, stylists. One woman, Carla Mendez, was a caterer at one of the infamous house parties. She testified that she saw women being led upstairs. Makeup smudged, shoes missing, silent. They looked like they'd been through something, she said. But nobody said a word. We all knew not to ask. Then came a man, Eli Walsh, once a security contractor. He admitted to being paid in cash. His job? Collect phones, block exits, log arrivals. He said there were always different rules depending on who walked in. Famous girls got champagne. The others got instructions. The prosecutor asked him to explain. He hesitated, then said, "They were told to wait in the lounge." That's what they called the room upstairs. But it wasn't a lounge. It had cameras, a lock on the outside. The courtroom tensed. Jennifer, watching from a private room now, was in tears. Her lawyer held her hand. But she wasn't hiding from the truth. She was facing it, one detail at a time. Eli continued. There was a man in charge of the tapes. We called him the archivist. He never spoke, just nodded. Had this old laptop always burning DVDs. The judge interrupted. Mr. Walsh, are you suggesting there was a library of these recordings? Yes, Your Honor. Hundreds. A gasp rippled through the courtroom. The judge demanded clarity. Hundreds of what? Files, each labeled by number. Vaults, girls, dates. He didn't name names. He didn't have to. The implication was clear. These weren't just private recordings. They were a system, a black market of power. Then came a name the courtroom wasn't ready for. Was Mr. Combs ever present during these recordings? Eli paused. Then, yes, more than once. The defense jumped to object. Speculation. But the judge allowed it. Eli explained he saw Combs walk into the viewing room, sit, watch, leave. Jennifer's heart sank. She had feared this answer, but hearing it out loud broke something. She wasn't crazy. She wasn't paranoid. It happened. Back on the stand, the next witness was a tech specialist. He worked for a consulting firm that helped clean celebrity devices. He described being hired to scrub several laptops. One belonged to a now deceased executive. On the drive, a folder labeled Stars. Inside it, videos. Dozens. The prosecutor asked, were these videos legal? The tech replied, they weren't illegal because no one ever looked. We were told to delete, not report. The judge leaned forward. Did you delete them? The man answered quietly, No, Your Honor. I copied them, then deleted the originals. I was scared, but I couldn't just erase them. He pulled out a sealed USB, handed it to the bailiff. The courtroom had no words. Jennifer, watching on the monitor, closed her eyes. A quiet breath left her body. Because finally, it wasn't just her word against theirs. There was proof. That flash drive changed everything. The courtroom wasn't just listening anymore. Now they were. In a closed session, the judge allowed select clips to be viewed. Only the jury, attorneys, and court officials were present. Reporters were kept outside. But even without the footage, the impact bled into the hallways. Faces came out pale, eyes red. Silence hung in the air like smoke. Later, a juror was overheard whispering, I didn't know it was this dark. The prosecution rested. The defense now had a choice. Try to fight what had already been seen, or change the narrative. They chose the latter. Their star witness was a private investigator named Ronald Keene. Clean cut, suit pressed, voice steady. He painted a different picture, one of ambition, jealousy, and manipulation. He claimed Jennifer had motives, that her rise in Hollywood was tied to relationships of convenience. She dated powerful men, he said, often just before landing major roles. Jennifer's lawyer objected, hard. The judge sustained. But the damage was done. Then came a line that made tea. She knew what those parties were, Keene said. She kept going back. The prosecution stood up. Are you suggesting she deserved it? I'm saying she participated. Gasps, tears, outrage. Jennifer's attorney asked to speak. They asked the court to allow her back on the stand for rebuttal. The judge agreed. She walked in slower this time, heavier, but stronger somehow. She faced the jury, looked them in the eyes, and said, Yes, I went back, not because I wanted to, because I was scared not to. She paused. I was 23. He was a kingmaker, and kings don't like rejection. She explained how fear works, how power wraps itself in charm, in gifts, in favors. How no isn't safe when the person you're saying it to owns the room, the label, the city. I laughed at his jokes. I posed for his pictures, but I never said yes to what he did. The courtroom was silent. Even the judge seemed moved. And then she said something that no one expected. I forgive him. Her lawyer flinched. The audience froze. The judge leaned forward. I forgive him, she repeated. Not because he deserves it, but because I can't carry this anymore. I need my life back. It wasn't strategy. It wasn't spin. It was a human being breaking the cycle, right there on the record. The defense had no more questions. The trial wrapped the following week. The jury took 3 days. When they returned, the air inside the courtroom was heavy. Even the floor seemed to wait. The foreperson stood, on all counts, guilty. Jennifer didn't cheer. She didn't cry. She closed her eyes. It wasn't victory. It was release. Outside the courthouse, cameras flashed like lightning. Reporters shouted her name. Jennifer! Jennifer, how do you feel? She didn't answer. She just walked. Beside her, her attorney kept a firm arm around her back. Paparazzi pushed. Fans reached out. Security struggled to keep a clear path. But Jennifer didn't flinch. She looked ahead, like she finally knew where she was going. Later, she released a statement. This wasn't about revenge. This was about truth. And truth, finally, was louder than fear. The man at the center of it all? He was sentenced to 22 years. No chance of parole until year 18. In court, he barely reacted. No apology, no tears, just a cold stare at the floor. His empire crumbled. Endorsements dropped. Studios severed ties. Artists backed away in silence. Even his closest associates disappeared. But this wasn't just the fall of a man. It was the breaking of a pattern. After the verdict, 3 more women came forward, all with similar stories, all saying they'd been too scared until now. Jennifer didn't return to Hollywood right away. She moved back east. Quiet town, no red carpets, no premieres, just space to breathe. When asked if she'd act again, she said, maybe, but on my terms. Her story didn't end in the courtroom. It started there. Now she speaks at universities. She mentors young actresses. She teaches them how to say no and mean it. She tells them, power is real, but so is your voice, and you don't need to whisper just to survive. This wasn't just a case. It was a reckoning, a line in the sand, a name that wouldn't stay silent, a truth that wouldn't stay buried, and a woman who refused, absolutely refused, to be anyone's victim.